So here we are, roughly 2 weeks later, and we do have our parts. The weather is actually pretty good. It's been dry for the last week, and we could have easily knocked all of our hay down, raked it and baled it, but instead, between my work and waiting on parts, this is where we're at. So we do have good news though. It is supposed to rain tomorrow. However, it's not supposed to rain a lot, and then Sunday through next Thursday is supposed to be sunny and dry and good weather for hay. So we want to get this done, get it back together, and get going on hay. Oh, I need an extension cord. You would think with all these outlets I put in around this whole building, right? One every 5 feet, you'd think you wouldn't need outlets, or wouldn't need extension cords anymore. Still need them. Not terrible. You know, it's not like before where you'd have to run 4 extension cords. I got the wrong end. 4 extension cords across in order to, you know, run a saw or whatever you're gonna do, but still inconvenient nonetheless. I'm really thinking about putting some up on the rafters or on the trusses, just a few drop downs. So like specifically probably one over here, and then I'd probably put another one over there, right in front of the lift. Just because these are the areas that we actually work on stuff. The other spots are really more for storage. So if this Moco wasn't in here right now, there would actually be nothing in this corner of the garage. It would be open. And we could use it to store stuff if we needed to, or, you know, park equipment, stage equipment for when we're getting ready to go work. Whatever we want to use it for. But nonetheless, let's get started. Inside of the hat that's on this, so it looks just like this one down here. I've actually got the new one right here just in case I have to cut that one off. Inside of there's 6 bolts, just like these. And the problem is that the head is rounded off and I can't get them out. A lot of debris sits in there, especially since that one didn't have the lid on it like this one does. That one has its lid on it, so it keeps debris out. Well, if you don't keep the debris out, grass clippings and stuff like that from when you're cutting hay gets in there, and then obviously once it gets wet from when you wash the machine, or even just the moisture in general that's in the grass as you're cutting it, gets in there and gets down there, and it essentially is going to rust this. We attempted to use an easy out, which is essentially, it looks like a turbo socket. So inside the socket there is, since I'd be turning it this way, there is little teeth that go out that way, and then we'll try to dig into it and you hammer it on there, get a good tight fit. You can see this one is rounded, and we were actually able to get it off with the easy out. However, the other ones, we didn't have any luck with them. Tried for a while, and kind of got to the point where we just realized that it's probably not gonna work. So my plan at this point is to take this nut, because it's so large, set it on top of this bolt and get the welder in there and weld this nut to the bolt. Get a good solid weld to it, and not only that, but the heat coming to the bolt will essentially make the bolt get larger, right? And then when the bolt cools off, it'll shrink back down. Hopefully that'll break whatever rust has a hold on the threads in there. And then we will put our socket on here and attempt to turn it off. So we'll get all these welded on, and then probably let it sit for an hour or so. I gotta take Colton back to his house, and when I get back from there, I'll give it a whirl. I don't know how well I'm gonna be able to weld it, just because there's not a lot of space down here, and I'll show you that part. So I've got to be able to get this right here, gotta get all of that inside of there and be able to weld it. I'm obviously not gonna be able to see very well, and so again, that's the other reason that I'm thinking that I may have to cut this with the plasma cutter around so I can actually get in there and see. That's why I went ahead and bought this one, because if I don't need it, you know, I'll throw it on the shelf, no harm, no foul. If I do need it, I have it on hand. It been a bit of a journey, but we're gonna get this fixed, and we're gonna get our hay cut, and it's gonna be just fine. Sometimes it's just more effort than, you know, like last year was pretty simple. We went cut hay, no problems at all. this year we're starting off with problems, so hopefully that means that we'll get all of our issues fixed right now and we'll have to deal with it. So we'll see. Did we get it? Can't see all the smoke. Oh, nope. I just had to come out here and show you guys this. Amazing sunset. The camera, again, just doesn't do it justice, but it's really cool looking. I'm sorry, I tried to show you guys what we were doing, and I doubt you, I don't know, we'll see. If I put any clips in there in the video, you saw we tried to welding it on there, but unfortunately with the tight spacing in here, I couldn't get the welder, I couldn't get the welder and the rod in there. You can see that we attempted to weld to that one, and I could not get them in there. I tried and tried and tried and I just couldn't do it. So what we will do this time is pretty simple. I'm gonna keep this, I think, as a spare, but I'm gonna put this one in because this one is still, oh no, it's got a little rust there. Maybe we'll put this one back in, I don't know yet. We'll see which one's gonna be more beneficial to us. It was a headache to do, I'm not gonna lie. I spent several hours out here last night until about 10 trying to get it done, couldn't get it. I hated to ask Jason because they're in the middle of cutting hay and wrapping bales because they're doing some silage. And yeah, I had to ask him to come over. I was like, man, can you try welding on this? I was like, I can't get it. He came over, he didn't even try. He's like, I can't get the rod in there well enough to do much of anything. I was like, yeah, I couldn't either. So then he actually looked and he saw that, he's like, I think we could take this off and slide it off. Well, I didn't think about that because my mindset was it was gonna be like this one. This is pressed on there. You can see it's splined and everything, but it's pressed on there and I have to pull this hub off in order to get this rotating piece off. Well, on those, it's not like that. You can literally, once you get it loose, well, I'm not gonna be able to show you with one hand, but once you get it loose, you can lift it off with both hands and it'll come right off. It's not that bad. So that was a blessing. So thank God that it was simpler, because if we still had to weld on this, I was to the point where I was gonna cut this with the plasma cutter down so that we could reach in there with the welder better. And even then, it still wasn't a guarantee because I was having a hard time getting the nuts just wouldn't stick well to those bolts. And I'm sure part of it's because they're so rusty. I know you can't see it now, but like this one's really rusty and I can't do anything with it. I tried cleaning it up with the wire brush and did a little bit, but the other thing I think is that everything where it touches the rest of this, I think is all rusty and it's making it hard to ground. You know, so how a welder works, basically I'm grounding the machine or grounding this, for instance, to the welding machine. And then whenever I touch with my electrodes, it essentially causes an arc and that's what welds. Well, if it doesn't have a good enough, or it can't get a good enough ground, then it won't work. So I don't know, either way, it's out. I'm gonna get the rest of this torn apart and be back in just a minute. Progress has been made. So we talked about all the teeth, right? And you can see on here, we've, repeatedly basically had something come in there and lose a tooth. And obviously they got stuck between these two gears because you can see 2 teeth missing there, 3 there, 3 there, 1 more there. And then over here you got 2 teeth missing, 2 teeth missing, 1 tooth missing, and a chunk of a tooth missing. Now, we've talked about it before. If a tooth comes off somewhere and it goes through the whole bar, it's gonna do that to the entire bar. All the gears in the whole bar, the whole set. If you stop, and God willing, you get lucky, all the carnage and everything hopefully will stay out in one spot of the bar. So for instance, if you have one that goes bad here, you know, and you hear clanking and you shut her down right away, you might get lucky and it might only damage like this turtle hub and say the 2 idler gears next to it, or you know, the 2 idler gears between these guys. Whatever it is that's damaged, you might get lucky. I'm not saying you will, but you might. This is the pile of carnage left behind. And that was just, I haven't even cleaned the whole section out yet. So we're gonna start or open up again and blow all this down and just see what all comes out. Ideally, it will all come out, but there's always that chance that one of them stuck somewhere. The other thing I found interesting was this is deep enough that if there are you know, shards or anything like that that are in here, they can actually stay below, or at least on the end, because this is concave. It'll kind of pool them all up and it'll keep them. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing necessarily. Part of me says it's a bad thing, but I mean, maybe it's not. I don't know, honestly. What I do know is I need to get this back together. So enough jibber jabber, back to work. All right, quick update, everyone. Got it all in. This one is not tightened because if the timing is off, so once I put the drive shaft from the top right here, hopefully you can see that spline shaft coming out, comes out of the gearbox, goes down. There's actually another shaft right there that goes on top of that turtle, and then that goes around it. But anyways, I'm gonna put all this on. I left this one loose. I haven't basically finalized the installation of it, but everything between it is finalized. Because if the timing is off, it's easier for me to take this one out and change the timing of all these gear sets at once, since these are all on time from here down, and then just have to adjust this one than it is to try to make that one the finalized one to time. Hopefully that makes sense. Like I said, I would like to get more video for you guys, but unfortunately there's just not a lot of space. I keep hitting my head on you guys, and you probably wouldn't appreciate the words that come out while that's happening. So again, PG friendly channel. We want other kids to learn about farming. So we'll be back in a little bit. It is very hot in here. I can't wait for those windows to show up. The bar is all back together. You can see everything's actually in time. So that one should be facing north-south. This one's facing east-west. North-south, east-west, north-south, east-west. Obviously, as they rotate, so with these extended, they should never touch, right? And you can see that there's not a whole lot of room between them. I have gotten through the bar as best I can. There's no teeth in there to my knowledge. God willing, this dang thing is gonna work, because I'm at my wit's end with green paint. Even though John Deere technically doesn't make this Kunduz, but I'm blaming the green paint. I'm gonna fill the bar up with oil. And once I get that full, I'll, oh, I can't use the tractor to get it out of here because I won't be able to make the turn. I will pull the tractor up, use the skid steer to pull it out, and then hook up to it. I'm pretty confident in my work, but I don't want to turn it on in here because if something flies apart, I don't want it to go through the wall. It's not terrible to get that out of there, but if that was a hydro swing and the tongue is essentially in the center of the mower,
It'd be a little easier.